Please help me reach 7,000 subscribers. It started as a game, a harmless dare among friends on a quiet Seoul evening. Ji-eun, always the fearless one, grinned when her best friend challenged her to drive through Moke Tunnel alone at midnight. Everyone knew the stories, the tunnel deep in the Gangwon Mountains where a school bus once crashed and no one survived. Locals claimed the spirits of the lost students still lingered, whispering to travelers who entered after dark. Ji-eun laughed it off, brushing away the chill that crept down her neck. She wanted to prove she wasn't afraid of old legends. With her phone flashlight flickering and her car keys jingling in her hand, she stepped into the night. The air was colder than it should have been for early autumn, and the trees around her swayed as though they were breathing. Her little white car waited under a dim streetlight. She took a deep breath, slid inside, and turned the key. The headlights sliced through the mist like twin blades, catching the glimmer of dew on the narrow road ahead. For a moment she hesitated, the kind of pause that happens before something irreversible. Then she pressed the pedal. As the car rolled past the last cluster of streetlights, darkness swallowed everything. The GPS froze. The phone lost signal. Only the hum of the engine and the faint thump of her heartbeat filled the silence. The deeper she went, the more it felt like the night itself was watching her. Still, Ji-eun whispered to herself, "Just one tunnel, just one dare." She didn't notice when the first whisper echoed back, repeating her words. Would you dare take that drive alone? Tell me in the comments, would you keep going or turn back before it's too late? Subscribe for more stories that begin with a dare and never end. The road stretched endlessly, a ribbon of gray winding between tall pines that bent under the mountain wind. Ji-eun turned up the heater, rubbing her palms together, but the chill wouldn't leave her fingers. Outside, the fog thickened, swallowing the trees until they looked like faint shadows drawn on smoke. Her headlights flickered once, and for a second, the darkness looked alive. She switched on the radio for comfort, hoping for a late-night talk show or some old ballad, but the speakers only hissed with static. As she reached to turn it off, a faint whisper slid through the noise. It was too soft to be words, more like breath against glass. Ji-eun froze, staring at the radio screen, but it was blank. The whisper came again, this time from somewhere deeper, layered beneath the static, long and low, like someone humming through a dream. Her laugh sounded forced even to herself. "It's just interference," she muttered, gripping the steering wheel tighter. The road curved again, and the same broken milestone appeared, chipped stone, faint white paint, the one she'd passed minutes ago. Her pulse quickened. She slowed down, squinting into the fog. Another turn, another milestone. The exact same one. She was looping. Ji-eun's heart began to race. The GPS still showed no route, no movement. It was as if she hadn't gone anywhere at all. Outside, the wind rose and carried faint whispers through the trees, too rhythmic to be natural, too human to be ignored. "Just the wind," she said again, her voice trembling. But when she checked the rearview mirror, the fog shifted, and something moved in it, keeping pace with her car. The static returned, louder this time, sharp enough to make Ji-eun flinch. Her fingers darted to the radio, twisting the knobs, but nothing changed. The sound deepened, a distorted crackle that made her ears ring. Then, beneath the static, came a voice, soft, trembling, and unmistakably human. "Ji-eun," she froze. Her breath caught halfway in her throat. It wasn't possible. The voice sounded like her name drawn out through a thin veil of static. Her hand hovered over the power button, but before she could press it, the voice returned, clearer this time. "Don't go, tunnel. Please." Ji-eun's heart slammed against her ribs. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice breaking. The moment she spoke, the headlights flickered, dimming to a dull glow. The world outside her windows seemed to close in. The fog pressed tight, the trees vanished into black. Her hands shook as she hit the brake, the tires squealing on damp asphalt. The car jolted to a stop. For a second there was silence, and then a flash of light crossed her windshield. 2 glowing dots. Eyes. Ji-eun's chest tightened. She blinked hard, but the lights vanished, leaving her reflection staring back and pale, frightened, and shaking. She reached for her phone, desperate for any signal, but the screen glitched, flickering with static like the radio. Then the same voice whispered again, closer now, as if sitting beside her. "Why didn't you listen?" The headlights flickered, once more, and something brushed past her window. A blur of white and black hair gone before she could scream. What if the voice on the radio called your name? Like and subscribe before the next signal finds you. The road narrowed to a single lane as Ji-eun's car crawled forward, tires crunching over scattered gravel. Her breathing was uneven now, every inhale shallow and shaky. The fog was so thick it pressed against the windshield like a living thing. She wiped at the glass, but the smear of her handprint only made the darkness look heavier. Then she saw it, a faint shape standing in the middle of the road ahead. At first she thought it was a trick of the fog, until her headlights caught a glint of white fabric. A girl stood there, motionless, her head tilted slightly downward. Her uniform clung to her as if soaked, the ends of her hair dripping onto the asphalt. Ji-eun slammed on the brakes. The car jerked to a halt and her seatbelt locked tight across her chest. For a long second, neither of them moved. The girl's hands hung limp at her sides, her fingers twitching slightly, as though remembering something. Ji-eun hesitated, then slowly rolled her window down halfway. The air outside was colder, painfully cold, and carried the faint scent of rain and iron. "Are you okay?" Ji-eun asked, her voice trembling. "Do you need help?" The girl lifted her head. Her hair slid aside just enough for Ji-eun to see hollow, lifeless eyes staring straight into hers. No expression, no blink. Only the faintest quiver of lips before the girl raised her hand and pointed down the road, toward the tunnel entrance hidden behind layers of fog. Ji-eun's stomach turned. Every instinct screamed to turn back, but her hands wouldn't move. The car lights dimmed, and in the brief flicker of darkness, the girl was gone. The tunnel appeared out of nowhere, its arched mouth swallowing the fog like a breath. Faded letters above the entrance spelled Moke, half hidden by vines. Ji-eun's hands trembled on the steering wheel. The radio was silent now, but the silence felt wrong, too deep, too heavy, as though it were listening. Her headlights illuminated the wet concrete walls as she entered. Water dripped steadily from the ceiling, echoing like slow heartbeats. Each sound bounced back distorted, whispering her name in faint layers that overlapped until she couldn't tell what was real. The deeper she went, the colder it became, her breath misting in the air. Halfway through, the radio burst alive again, a wail, sharp and sudden, so real it made her slam on the brake. The voice was crying now, pleading through the static. "Why didn't you stop?" Ji-eun's heart thudded painfully. "Stop? Who are you?" she shouted, but the radio only hissed. The headlights flickered again, and for a split second, the beam caught something painted on the tunnel wall. A streak of red handprints, dozens of them, small and uneven, like children's hands dragging down concrete. Her breathing quickened. Her eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "No, this can't be." Then she noticed the school uniform from before, the same blue stripe on the sleeve, the same fabric her younger sister Hana had worn the night she disappeared 3 years ago. Ji-eun's fingers trembled against the steering wheel as realization sank like ice through her chest. The voice on the radio wasn't a stranger's, it was Hana's. What if the ghost calling your name was someone you once loved? Subscribe. Some voices aren't meant to be silenced. Tears blurred Ji-eun's vision, the tunnel walls melting into streaks of shadow and light. She pressed the accelerator, desperate to escape, whispering Hana's name between sobs. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know." The car surged forward, but the tunnel didn't end. Every meter looked the same, dripping walls, red stains, faint echoes of laughter. Her headlights flickered, catching glimpses of movement on the sides, tiny hands brushing against the car doors, silhouettes that vanished when she blinked. The GPS suddenly blinked back to life. One word appeared on the cracked screen. Home Ji-eun's chest tightened. She gripped the wheel harder, speeding up. The road began to change, the tunnel walls dissolving into open air again, but the trees outside weren't the same. The fog was thicker, the forest darker, and the moon hung unnaturally low, glowing red through the mist. Her phone lit up by itself. the screen showing Hana's smiling face, her old contact photo, and underneath, a message appeared on its own. "Stay with me." Ji-eun's voice trembled. "No, Hana, you're gone. You're not real." The radio hissed again and Hana's voice replied softly, almost lovingly, "Then why did you come back?" The car engine sputtered. She hit the gas, nothing. The engine died, the lights went out, and the darkness swallowed everything. In that suffocating silence, Ji-eun heard footsteps outside the car. Slow, bare, coming closer. Her trembling hand reached for the door lock, too late. It clicked open on its own. The cold air rushed in, carrying a familiar scent of Hana's shampoo. A soft voice whispered right beside her ear. "Wrong turn, honey. What if the person you lost found their way back to you? Subscribe before someone calls your name from the dark." Morning broke quietly over the mountains, washing the fog in pale gold. The villagers who passed by Mokay Tunnel that day found a white car parked by the entrance. The headlights were still on, the driver's door open and the radio faintly humming with static. But Ji-eun was gone. They searched for days, through the forest trails, the riverbanks, even the old school ruins nearby. Yet there was no trace of her. Only her phone resting on the driver's seat, the screen cracked and flickering with one last message that no one had sent. "Stay with me." Whispers began to spread again among the locals. Some said Ji-eun had followed her sister into the spirit world, trapped in the same endless drive. Others swore that if you pass through Mokay Tunnel after midnight, the radio will turn on by itself. A girl's voice will call your name, and if you answer, you'll never find your way out again. Taxi drivers avoid the tunnel now. Lovers on road trips make detours no matter how late it is. Yet every few months, a new car appears near the entrance. Door open, keys in ignition, headlights still warm. They say Ji-eun still drives that road, searching for Hana, calling her name softly through the mist. And if you ever hear your radio crackle and whisper, don't answer, don't look back. Just drive. Some turns aren't wrong because of the road, but because of what we're running from. Tell me in the comments, would you take that drive through Mokay Tunnel or turn back before it's too late? Subscribe now, before the whisper on the radio calls your name next.